it still feels unreal for me to think that I was 1 year old when The Boy Who Lived first flew onto those theatre screens. And I was 11 years old when the franchise concluded after a decade of amazing movies that have revolutionised cinema. I was just 4 years old when I went for the first time to see Harry Potter on the big screen, and it was The Prisoner of Azkaban. And I was 11 when I left my seat of that cinema for the last time, hearing John Williams' incredible music, Hedwig's theme, knowing that this was the last time I would ever see Harry Potter as a new movie. And it made me really sad because those films were a massive part of my childhood. Like, they defined a huge chunk of my childhood. I saw The Philosopher's Stone and The Chamber of Secrets on VHS. That was how I watched them for the first time. And recently, to mark 20 years since the beginning of Harry Potter and 10 years since the conclusion this July, I rewatched them. And I almost fell in love with them again because it had been so long since I'd sat down and done them all back to back as a binge. And it made me want to do this video. And I feel like it's the perfect time to, especially with the anniversary coming up. So, here is my list. Now, before anyone says anything, right, this is my opinion, okay? You guys might not agree with my opinion, but this is my opinion. This is the ones I enjoyed the most and why I enjoyed them so much. But let me put this out there. I do not dislike any of the films. I love every single one of them. Some more than others, obviously. That's how a ranked list works. But every single Harry Potter film has a special place in my heart. So do not think for a second that there is one film that I dislike. Also, I will not be including the Fantastic Beasts films. They will be in a separate list, maybe sometime in the future. Because this is just Harry Potter for me, because Fantastic Beasts doesn't have an anniversary coming up. Nor does it have a film, because it keeps getting bloody pushed back and delayed. So, it's just the 8 Harry Potter films. So, with that all said, let's start with number 8. Now, I know many people who agree with me on this one, because we came out of the Order of the Phoenix knowing that Voldemort was now known by all, that he had returned, and it set up for something so cool. Like, there was going to be some wicked action, there was going to be an awesome face-off between Harry and Voldemort, and maybe Dumbledore at the same time. Like, that was what I had in my head, because I never read the books. I've always struggled with reading, so I waited for the films. And then it was a decent film. Like I said, I enjoy all the films, but this one had moments where it honestly started to bore me a little bit. Like, it felt so longed out, and there were things that could have happened so much quicker but didn't. And honestly, whenever I do the marathon, this is the one I try and doze off to, so I have a kip before the awesome ending. I mean, like, it was cool seeing, like, the Death Eaters coming into our world and things like that, and, you know, there were some really cool elements. Dumbledore went out like a boss, and that what he did with the fire, that was beyond awesome. And it was really, really cool to see Jim Broadbent in Harry Potter, because he's an incredible actor. He was Professor Slughorn. But yeah, Half-Blood Prince will take number 8 for me, because it was the one that... What's the best way to put it? It was the one that wasn't as good as the others. Right? That's the best way I could put it. It wasn't as good as the others. Like, it had some cool moments, like the house burning, obviously Snape turning, things like that. But a lot of it was very, very boring. So I feel like it's an understandable reason to have Half-Blood Prince at number 8, and I know a lot of people agree with me. Like, I watched quite a few videos going into this, and a lot of people put the Half-Blood Prince very low, if not last. So, yeah, that's my pick for number 8, and that's why. Now, this opinion may be slightly unpopular, but I stand by it. Because it's not a bad film at all. It was just, as the films went on, they got so good. And like the graphics were amazing. The story got dark and it got more compelling. And, you know, whereas when I watch number 1 now, I think, wow, this film felt so childish now. Like, honestly, it feels like such a kid's movie. And then you watch the others and it gets so dark. It's like, well, they've properly jumped from like kids' film to young adults film. And to me, because of the complexity of the storylines that the newer ones had, it really like made the gravitas of the first movie so much less. I still absolutely love the first movie. Like, there are so many iconic lines like "You're a wizard, Harry," and things like that. You know, and the Philosopher's Stone. I still love the reflection of when Harry's fallen over, and you've got the flames reflecting on the red, shiny side of the stone. I love that. That was always something that stood out to me in that film. And they definitely didn't use Ralph Fiennes for the original Voldemort that was on the back of Quirrell's head, which is a shame. But, I mean, they didn't get Ralph Fiennes until the Goblet of Fire anyway, so that doesn't really matter. You know, they've changed a few actors. Obviously, Richard Harris for Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. So, but all in all, like, I loved the film, and it was the first time you saw the trio. It was when Quidditch actually felt important. You know, there was so many cool elements, and all the different beasts and wizard's chess. I still to this day really want to play wizard's chess. And it was cool seeing the late great John Hurt when he was young and healthy. So, yeah, this film will have a special place in my heart. The Chamber of Secrets is known as a film that always has divided Harry Potter fans, where some say it's massively underrated, others think because it's the longest in the series that it drags on and has lost a lot of its integrity. Personally, I don't agree with either. I think it's a good film with good structure. I don't feel like it drags on too long, but I don't feel like it has as compelling as a story as the others that will follow after on this list. There are so many things in this film that I loved. You know, like, I loved the basilisk, the fight with the basilisk. I wish it lasted a little bit longer, to be honest. Like, they'd cut maybe something else down a bit and had the basilisk fight last a bit longer. Because the basilisk fight, all in all, I think from when Harry gets into the chamber and the basilisk leaves the mouth of Salazar Slytherin, I think it's only about 5 minutes. With the whole Harry being chased, falling over, Fawkes scratching out the basilisk's eyes, going into those little tunnels, escaping, running back to Jenny's body, the basilisk emerging from the water, Harry climbing on Salazar Slytherin, and then stabbing the basilisk in the face. It's, you know, I really enjoyed it. Like, as a kid, I was like, wow, that's like proper action. You know, I loved it. But obviously, I mean, Harry Potter films, they've all aged well. I'll admit, they've all aged well. But that's one of the ones where I feel like I wanted more from it. You know, the rest of the story was pretty good, to be fair. Like, I loved the flying car, Aragog and his, you know, his sons and daughters, and the way the basilisk killed you by looking at you and everyone got petrified, like, that was really cool. I just wish there was a little bit more. Now, a lot of people that I've seen do videos like this have put this film a lot lower on the list. And they've explained why. And the reason makes sense. But to me, it's not the same principle. So they see it as this movie was unsatisfying. In the sense of it didn't feel fulfilled. It didn't feel like the movie ended properly. So with Harry Potter films, they all follow a certain style in movie structure, because that's the way that J.K. Rowling writes them. It's the 12-step program, basically. She writes them all with certain plot points that will all line up. And Deathly Hallows was written as one big book, but they split the movie into two, meaning that by the time you got to the step 6, the first movie was ending. And therefore the story wasn't completely fulfilled until Deathly Hallows Part 2. But there are things in this movie that I enjoyed. Like, I can't lie, right? This movie has my favourite opening out of any of them. The whole Obliviate scene and the soundtrack as well. And I was sat in cinema, right, in 2010. I was sat there. It started. I saw Hermione, getting rid of her parents' memories. Ron was staring out. Harry was saying goodbye to the house. Everyone was leaving. And you knew for a fact this was the beginning of the end. And that is what made this film feel like it was that start of a big ending. And it had action. It had drama. It made me sad. I mean, they killed Hedwig within 15 minutes. And obviously Dobby at the end. And I can't lie, like, the film was good. It was a good film, and because it didn't fulfill the storyline and didn't feel like it ended properly, that is why a lot of people didn't like this film. But personally, I think it deserves to be exactly where I've put it. So this one really, really divides Harry Potter fans, purely because there are two types of Harry Potter fans. There are the fans that have only watched the movies, and there are the fans that have read the books. And for those who have read the books, this is the worst film in their eyes. This is the worst movie adaptation, because a lot of it was cut out and a lot of it was changed. And that was because the director did not go directly from the source material. Personally, I haven't read the books, but I've looked at a lot of videos of people who have, and they've explained why they hate this film so much. But as someone who just went into this film knowing it's a film, like I hadn't read the books, I didn't know anything about it, the film wasn't bad. It was a good film. I really enjoyed it. Like, it was the first big dark movie. Like, The Prisoner of Azkaban was where it started to get dark, but this was where it was going to go for the future. It was always going to be this tone, and it was just going to get darker. And this is obviously the film where Voldemort returned. The Triwizard Tournament was awesome. One of my favourite scenes in the film is the bit with the dragon, where it goes all the way around Hogwarts. And somebody, I was watching a video, and somebody said that the dragon never escapes at all. And if it had escaped, they would have had to have cancelled it, because it damaged the castle. The dragon tamers would have had to have trapped it because it broke free from its chains, which it wasn't supposed to do, and everyone would not have just been sat there just watching. They would have been like, what's going on? We need to sort this out now. So that's one of them things. The maze was actually meant to have like creatures like acarantulas and stuff. But I like how they had the mazes alive, and other people have said that they enjoyed that too. And the ending was awesome. I loved seeing Voldemort come back, and it really set up for the future. So I think, in my eyes, this deserves to be where it is. In other people's eyes, it was a book adaptation disaster. This is arguably one of the best Harry Potter movies made. There are many things in this story that make it such a compelling movie. I mean, I've watched this film so many times on repeat as well when I can, and it still doesn't bore me. This one was the one that really showed us what we was going into, you know, because we went from Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, where it felt like a child's movie, into these young adult films with these darker and more hectic and more complex storylines. And that really showed us what Harry Potter was going to be. This one introduced us to Sirius Black, who is played by Gary Oldman, an amazing actor. And Sirius Black was played brilliantly. I loved the character. I loved how they made it feel like he was the bad guy for a lot of the movie until he gets to explain himself. Like, it's guilty till proven innocent in this case, and it generally is like you find out he's a good guy when Harry does, and that made it really compelling. That really drew us in. And the director of this movie, fair play to you, because the cinematography is unreal. Like, the way he has these long one-shots that are just never ending. They're about 2 minutes long, just one scene that's one take, and it'll go and it'll start in this room and it'll show the big expansion of everyone talking, and then they'll start to isolate to one little area, and these conversations will draw you in. And the best example of that is right near the beginning, when Harry's talking to Arthur, and you, even when they talk about Sirius Black, you see the poster, and that, unreal. You know a bad guy's played well when they bring you actual hatred. Like, you can sit there and resent the day they were born. And here I refer, of course, to Dolores Umbridge. She was the biggest pain in the arse. Like, I was watching it, I was like, can she just die already? Because obviously I hadn't read the books, so I didn't know that she survived. I can't lie, it pissed me off that she did. But that's when you know that someone's a really good actress, when you can despise their character. But this film was awesome, right? This film it had everything you wanted. Like, had that darkness. Harry wasn't the big celebrity anymore. He was now the boy who lied. Everything was going against him. Dumbledore was pushing him away to try and help him, but we didn't know that at the time, you know. And then you've got the things with the prophecy, his visions, Voldemort trying to get into his head, the lessons he has with Snape, and then, of course, Dumbledore's army and the Order of the Phoenix. So Dumbledore's army training scenes were awesome. Like, I loved how Harry was teaching everyone because of his experiences of, like, killing the basilisk, defeating Quirrell, fighting off 100 Dementors at once, Voldemort himself only a year before. You know, it was things like that made it so cool, and he taught them really well, and I loved the way it was all done. It was very well made. And then, of course, the Order of the Phoenix versus the Death Eaters at the end, after DA fall out of that door. And obviously we saw the adults fighting and that was, I think it was the first time we properly saw, like, proper elite wizard duels, not just Harry and Voldemort in the graveyard. And then obviously R.I.P. Sirius. But this film had what we wanted. Like, this film, I ended up leaving the cinema pissed off that Dolores Umbridge survived, but so happy with what I'd just seen. It could only be Deathly Hallows Part 2 at number 1. Honestly, this film was the perfect way to wrap up the franchise. I don't think I've ever seen a franchise conclusion as good as Deathly Hallows Part 2 in general. Like, I mean, I can't count Avengers Endgame, so as good as that was. I can't count it because it only ended a phase, not a whole franchise. Like, the MCU isn't done. Whereas Harry Potter, it ends with Deathly Hallows Part 2. It was the end. And everything about this film was magnificent. Like, the beginning was fast-paced and drew you in immediately. Then you got to Hogwarts and things got intense. And then you had the big Battle of Hogwarts. You had them chasing the Horcruxes. You had so many important deaths. You know, it felt like a war. It felt like this was it. It's either the good guys win or the bad guys win. And there's no in between. There was no other way. One had to die. And everything about this film was magnificent. Honestly, the soundtrack is unreal. The graphics are amazing. The fights are brilliant. Harry's sacrifice is so noble. The Prince's Tale is the most amazing bit of cinematography I've ever seen. The way they blended it all together, the way when Snape was talking about James or Lily, it shot to him walking through the house, finding their bodies. And honestly, you felt his pain. Alan Rickman's acting in that scene is unreal. Like, he should... How did he not get an award for playing Snape? Like, it was amazing. Everything about this film was perfect. I've watched this film, I don't even know how many times on repeat, because it's just that good. And it was such a satisfying conclusion. And the ending with the platform 9 3/4 and the kids going off, I mean, they couldn't have done it any better if they tried. So, this is the most worthy and most brilliant Harry Potter film ever made, in my eyes. And that is why it stands proudly at number 1. Right, guys, that is the full list done. All 8 Harry Potter films ranked, in my opinion. And I'm going to say that again, in my opinion. So please do not give me hate in the comments for my opinion, okay? You can have a different opinion, that's completely fine. That's your opinion. But that's my opinion, alright? If you guys enjoyed this video, then please don't hesitate to ask me to do more film franchises ranked, because I love talking about movies. Movies are a massive love of my life. So, yeah, I'd love to do more. You know, I might do some Marvel, Transformers, things like that, other stuff. You know, just ask. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to stay safe, stay healthy, drink a Capri Sun. I will see you next time. So to all you Potterheads, CSY, out.